Hey guys, it's Gina and welcome back to a brand new tutorial. I have some bracelets here I'm going to show you how to make today. They are called the Butterfly Stitch and made with MiniDuos and size 15.0 seed beads. And I'm going to show you how to make the full bracelet in the same pattern and just the same color of MiniDuos and 15.0s today to keep it simple, but I have a couple extra patterns here to show you how you can switch up the colors and make them look a little bit more interesting. But I will be coming back soon with the final spellbound tutorial from the Plot Twist collection by Eureka. And in this bracelet, we're going to be using the same butterfly stitch technique with the MiniDuos and the 15.0s that I came up with here. So I figured first we'll do a full bracelet because it's really cool on its own. It's very slinky and great to wear. It's really comfortable. And then I'll show you how to incorporate the inclusion in the next tutorial and you'll be prepared to make the band. So today what you'll need are just some MiniDuos and some size 15.0 seed beads. And to finish this off, we'll be using some 20mm slide tube end components. I'll also be using a little magnetic clasp and a couple of jump rings. So to get started, if you want to thread your beading needle with a comfortable length of beading thread, I'll be using a size 11 needle with the 0.006 inch diameter Fireline. And just trim off a comfortable length. You'll need to add thread as you go. But we'll get started and we can jump into this tutorial. All right, so the bracelet we're going to make today is going to be about 6.5 inches long in terms of the beadwork from one end to the next. And that'll allow for about a 1/2 inch to an inch, depending on the size clasp you use and everything, to make approximately a 7-inch bracelet. So you can kind of adjust that accordingly. To do that, we're going to be completing 28 rows. And when I say rows, I mean just, one of these being a row of MiniDuos. So 28 all the way down the length makes about 6.5 inches in these materials. And we'll get started making several of these rows together. And then this is one of those patterns that just ends up repeating. And you'll just keep going as long as you want to. And after that, we'll meet back and I'll show you how you can finish it off with the slide tube components. So let's go ahead and get started with our very first row. Let's pick up a repeating pattern of 2 MiniDuos, a 15.0, and repeat that 3 more times. And don't add a final 15.0 on the end. You should have something that looks like this. We have a total of 8 MiniDuos and 3 15.0s, alternating just like that. And we'll pull this down, leaving ourselves a 6-inch tail thread. And you can use a stop bead if you'd like. Otherwise, you can just hang on to that tail thread with your thumb and your forefinger and take your needle and sew directly down that MiniDuo that you're coming out of. Just go through that open hole, just the very first one. And you're just looping your thread around that bead. And then pick up a 15.0 and sew through the next 2 MiniDuos. Pick up another 15.0, sew through the next 2 MiniDuos. Pick up a new 15.0, sew through the next 2, And this will get easier as we go and as our rows start to straighten up. And finally, we have one more MiniDuo hanging out. We're going to pick up one more 15-0 and sew through the open hole of that very last one that we get to. Again, just hold your tail thread in place and pull this together. And you end up with your very first row that looks like this. So we've got on one side, if you'll notice, 4 15-0s, and then on the other side we have 3 15-0s. The side with the 4, we're going to use that for inserting into one end of the slide tube clasp. Let's go ahead though, and I've got my working thread coming down out of the left side of this MiniDuo here at the bottom. Gonna go ahead and just sew up through all the beads on the right just to get this started and reinforced. Holding that tail thread in place and the working thread, and as you pull that, now you know the beads really aren't going anywhere. And I'm going to turn this way just so it's a little bit easier for me to work with. As we continue, I'm going to take my needle and go up through the same MiniDuo I'm coming out of, plus I'm going to go through the next 15-0. Pull tight. At this point, we're going to pick up 3 new 15-0s, and we're going to make a little picot, is what it's called, around each one of those 15-0s that's in this row. So I've got my 3. I'm going to sew back through the 15-0 that's sitting right there, and also sew through the next 2 MiniDuos and through the next 15-0. And when you pull this thread, you can see that little diamond shape of seed beads that's been created for us, which sets us up for our next row. We're gonna keep doing that along this line, picking up 3 new 15-0s, going around the same 15-0 we're coming out of, plus the next 2 MiniDuos and the next 15-0. And pull. Three new 15-0s around the same 15 through the next 2 MiniDuos and through the seed bead, and pull tight. We've got one more to do in this row. And we're just going through that last MiniDuo to finish that off, and now you can see we've got those 4 picots down there on the side, and that is going to be one far end of our bracelet. And those 15-0s that are hanging out all the way on the left are what are going to catch in the slide tube component, and we're going to use those to our advantage. But continuing on, just hanging on to that tail thread, we'll be able to weave that back in later. Whenever you want to get rid of that is fine. Now we're going to take our working thread, which is coming down out of this MiniDuo. We're going to go back up that same MiniDuo through the next hole, also go through the next MiniDuo and the next 15-0, just like that. Now we're going to make our little seed bead picots on these 3 15-0s. All right, so we're in place to pick up 3 new 15-0s. We're going to go around that 15-0 there and up through the next 2 MiniDuos and the next 15-0. And pull. We're going to do that on these next two as well. And now we're just going to go through those last two mini duos in this row and pull tight. So now with this setup, we are ready to start our next row, row number 2 of mini duos. We're going to first pick up a new 15-0 and then pick up 2 mini duos and then sew through the 15-0 that's on the far right of the next picot and pull tight. So now you've got your first 2 of that row in place. We're going to pick up 2 more mini duos and sew through the next far right hand side 15-0 on the next picot. Repeat that again. So we've got 6 mini duos in place now on row number 2. We need 2 more. So you can go ahead and pull those down. And now we just want to match what we did up there at the top. We're going to pick up a 15-0, sew through the next 2 mini duos as well as the next 15-0, and then pull this tight. So we've got our next row of mini duos in place. We're coming out of this 15-0 right here, and we can just sew through the next 15-0 in the same picot. Continue sewing through that next one on the far right, and then sew down those last 2 mini duos, the same holes we already went through. Pull tight once again. And now we can sew up through the open hole of the same mini duo that we're coming out of. Once again, pull that tight. And then this time we're going to pick up a 15-0, sew through the next 2 mini duos through their open holes, and repeat that, picking up a 15-0, sewing through the next 2 mini duos. Once again. And then we're at our last one. We're going to pick up a new 15-0 and then go through the last mini duo and pull tight. So now you can see we have 4 15-0s separating these mini duos on this second row. And what we're going to do now is take our needle and return down through the same mini duo we're coming out of, just going through the next hole, and just continue sewing through that same row of beads and the same holes that line up. So I went through those 2 mini duos. I'm going to go through the next 15-0 that's on the far right of that picot, through the next 2 mini duos, through the 15-0, and so on. Just going through that whole row. And coming out of the left-hand hole of that bottom mini duo in the second row, and that way we can take our needle and sew back up through the same MiniDuo and the next 15-0 that we get to. And once again, just keep pulling everything tight after each addition and after each pass through. So we are in place again to complete our next sections of picots. We're going to have 4 picots on this side, and as we go, you're going to see that it alternates 4 picots, then 3, then 4, and so on. So we're going to pick up our 3 new 15-0s, go back around the same 15-0 plus the next 2 MiniDuos plus the next seed bead, and pull tight. We have 3 more to do. This time going through just that single MiniDuo on the end. Just like that. At this point, we're going to swing down through the next hole of the same MiniDuo and go through the next one, pull our thread, head over to the right, going through the next hole of the same MiniDuo, plus go through that next 15-0 that you get to. You can head over through the next 15-0 towards the right, and then down through the next 15-0 on the far right. And here we're in place to add our next row of MiniDuos. I'm picking up 2, sewing down through the next picot, the seed bead on the far right. I'm gonna repeat that 2 more times. And if you pull this and just let those beads fall into place, you can see we've got 6 of our beads in place here. The MiniDuos on our 3rd row, and we can pick up a 7th, which is going to sit in place like that. And we're going to return up through that same MiniDuo we just added, going through the open hole, plus going through the very next MiniDuo bead. Pulling all that tight. And once again, we're going to be adding in our 15-0s in between these groups of 2 MiniDuos. And there's going to be 3 picots on the right side of this row. So picked one up, going through the next 2 MiniDuos, picking up another and going through the next 2, and picking up another and going through the next MiniDuo that's already in place. Right there, pulling that tight, and you can see we need 1 more MiniDuo to finish up the 3rd row here. So I'm going to pick one up and slide it down. Going to sit in place right there, and we're going to take our needle and swing back through the open hole of the new MiniDuo and continue sewing down all the beads in that same row, including the 15-0s, which are separating our MiniDuos. So going down through that first one there, and I'll go ahead and pull. and continue sewing down through all the beads in that entire section. Going through the last one, pulling tight. We're coming out of the left-hand hole of that last MiniDuo. Now we can swing up through the right-hand side of the same one, plus go through the next MiniDuo, plus the next 15-0. And we've got our single 15s in place here to make our picots. So we can start by picking up 3 15s, sewing through that single 15-0, going through the next 2, plus the next seed bead. Got our 3 new ones. Going through that last one there, plus the next 2 MiniDuos, pulling tight. And this is what we have so far. So now all you need to do is repeat what we've already did, starting from this row here where we had the 3 picots in place. And once again, that was where we picked up a 15 and 2 new MiniDuos. And then we just went down through the 15-0 on the side of that picot, picking up 2 new MiniDuos, going down through the next seed bead on the right, 2 MiniDuos, down through the seed bead, and then finishing up that row by picking up 2 new MiniDuos and a 15-0, sewing up through the 2 MiniDuos on the previous row, and then sewing around those 15-0s on the picot, down through the one on the right, sewing down through those next 2 MiniDuos right there, pulling this tight as usual, and then coming out of the open hole of the MiniDuo at the very bottom on the right, setting us up to move along. So what you can do now is just back up the video and keep repeating these steps to finish up 28 rows of MiniDuos in your bracelet if you want to do that 6.5 inch length. And at that point we can meet back and I will show you how to insert the beadwork into the slide tubes and finish off the bracelet. All right, everyone, so here is our beadwork with the 28 rows in place, and you just want to make sure you end with the 4 picots on the other side, just like we started with, and just like you can see here how I have those inserted into this end of the bar. And so now on the other side I've got my other tube, and you can see it's got this opening right here at the bottom that's split, and that is where you're gonna go in and try to catch each of those 15-0s that are sitting on the right hand side of each of those 4 picots. So we're gonna slide our first one in, and sometimes they go in easy and sometimes they don't, so we'll see how it goes. Just go one at a time. There's 2. And just go down the row. And sometimes they come out like that one did. There's 3. And then the 4th one, which is usually the trickiest. So there we go. So there's our 4 15-0s in place in that finding. And now we just need to, you could take your finger, you could take a pair of pliers, whatever works for you, or press that against something solid, but you need to just push the side of that component down so it's flat. And you can use your pliers to help you if you need to. Squeeze that together. And that is your end in place on the other side. And as you can see, they come with a loop there, so you can add a jump ring in your clasp. And I've just got another one of these oval jump rings, for example. I'm going to attach that to the loop and then also attach it to the other side of the clasp. Just like that. And try to bring those together. And that happens to be a very magnetic clasp. It wants to cling to everything. But that's a good thing. We don't want one that's weak. All right. So that is what the end of our bracelet looks like with the magnetic clasp using those slide ends. And once again, those are the 20mm size. And I'll have examples of all these things linked below in the description section, so be sure to check that out. So here are the examples, just bringing those back down here below so you can check out those variations. Once again, if you want to switch up the colors or do something fun like that, especially like the orange and the green varieties I have below. Also, I want to mention that you can complete the style of bracelet using the regular size super duos. And way back when, towards the beginning of my channel, I actually shared a video doing just that. And I believe instead of 15 O's, I did the super duos with a single 8-0 seed bead. I will try to link to that video as well in the corner if you want to check that out. You'll just have to change how many beads you use and whatnot according to what size you want, because of course the super duos are a bit bigger. Also, be sure to stay tuned for that spellbound bracelet tutorial that I have coming up, where you can find out how to complete the butterfly stitch MiniDuo style bracelet band, in addition with some inclusions like that beautiful 16mm Rivoli crystal. We're going to start that out with a 16mm square stitch bezel like I showed you recently. So some more techniques you can put together and create some new pieces. So thank you all so much for joining me today. I always appreciate having you. Feel free to leave me a comment down below, especially if you gave this a try. I'd love to hear about it, or if you have any other ideas or suggestions. Hope to see you all again real soon. Don't forget to give the video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Also, don't forget to subscribe while you're here. I will see you all next time. And in the meantime, have a fabulous rest of your day. And as always, happy beading.